I disappeared the night my wife sighed at me like I was an annoying insect. No fight. No explanation. Just gone. She didn't notice for 12 hours. When she finally did, she called everyone we knew, filed a missing person report, and played the devastated victim perfectly. But I knew the truth. My name is Holden Walsh. I'm 43 years old, and until 3 months ago, I was an electrical engineer at Meridian Manufacturing in Columbus, Ohio. I had a decent salary, a nice house in the suburbs, and a wife who used to look at me like I hung the moon. Allison. God, Allison. We'd been married for 14 years. High school sweethearts who somehow made it work through college. Through my years climbing the corporate ladder, through her mother's death and my father's stroke. We survived all of it. Or so I thought. Here's the thing nobody tells you about emotional betrayal. It doesn't announce itself. There's no dramatic confrontation, no lipstick on the collar, no suspicious texts lighting up at midnight. It's quieter than that. Crueler. It's the way she stopped asking about my day. The way her eyes glazed over when I talked about the new project at work. The way she'd pick up her phone mid-conversation and just scroll, like I was background noise, like I was furniture. That Tuesday, I came home around 6:30. Traffic had been brutal, and I was exhausted. The house smelled like nothing, which should have been my first clue. Allison used to cook. Not anymore. She was in the kitchen, leaning against the counter with her phone in her hand, tapping away at something that made her smile. I remember noticing that smile because I hadn't seen it directed at me in months. "Hey," I said, setting my keys on the counter. The disposal's making that grinding noise again. I think something stuck in there. She didn't look up, just kept scrolling. "Allison." She murmured. "I was thinking maybe this weekend I could take a look at it. Might need to replace the whole unit." That's when it happened. She let out this long, irritated exhale. Sharp, dismissive, like my words were gnats buzzing around her head. Still didn't look up from her phone. Something inside me just stopped. Not broke, not shattered. Stopped. Like a machine powering down after years of being forced to run on fumes. I stood there, watching her profile, the bored set of her mouth, the slight furrow between her eyebrows as she typed something to whoever was more interesting than her husband. And I realized with perfect, horrible clarity that I didn't exist to her anymore. I was a paycheck, a warm body that paid half the mortgage, a placeholder for the life she'd already moved on from. I didn't say anything else. I walked upstairs to our bedroom, pulled my old duffel bag from the closet, and started packing. Not frantically, not with any grand sense of drama, just methodically. One shirt, one pair of jeans, socks, underwear, my phone charger, the photo album my grandmother made me when I graduated college, the watch my dad gave me before the stroke took his speech. I left the electric toothbrush she'd bought me last Christmas. I left the expensive cologne she said made me smell sophisticated. I left everything that tied me to a version of myself I didn't want to be anymore. The version that begged for scraps of attention. The version that apologized for existing. Allison never came upstairs. I could hear the TV turn on downstairs, some reality show she loved. I could hear her laughing at something. Laughing. While I dismantled our marriage in the room above her head. I walked out the front door at 7:45. She didn't notice. Didn't call after me. Didn't even look up when I passed through the living room with my bag over my shoulder. I got in my truck, started the engine, and drove. No destination. No plan. Just drove until the streetlights of Columbus faded behind me, and the highway stretched out dark and empty ahead. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel free. I felt numb. But beneath the numbness was something else. Something I hadn't felt in years. Relief. I spent that first night in a motel off Route 70, somewhere between Columbus and nowhere. The kind of place where the neon sign flickers and the sheets smell like industrial detergent. I didn't sleep. Just lay there staring at the water-stained ceiling, waiting for the panic to hit, waiting for the regret, waiting for that voice in my head that would tell me I'd made a terrible mistake and needed to go crawling back. It never came. What came instead was my phone. Starting at 6:30 in the morning, it lit up like a Christmas tree. Allison. 1 call. 2 calls. 5 calls. 10. I watched the screen flash her name over and over, and I felt nothing. Maybe that should have scared me. Maybe the absence of feeling was worse than anger or sadness. But I just sat there on the edge of that sagging mattress and let it ring. By 9 o'clock, she'd left 14 voicemails. I listened to the first 3. The first one was angry. Holden, what the hell? Where are you? Your truck is gone. Did you seriously just leave without saying anything? This is so immature. Call me back. The second one was confused. Okay, I don't know what's going on, but this isn't funny. Are you at Tyler's? Did something happen? Just call me, okay? I'm worried. The third one was the beginning of panic. Holden, please. I need to know you're safe. I called your work, and they said you didn't show up. Where are you? What did I do? Just talk to me. I deleted the rest without listening. By noon, she'd moved beyond voicemails. My brother Tyler called. Dude, Allison just called me freaking out. Says you disappeared. What's going on? I didn't answer. My buddy from work, Jim, texted. Your wife called the shop. Said you vanished. You good, man? I turned my phone on silent and shoved it in the duffel bag. But here's the thing that got me. The thing that confirmed I'd made the right choice. She didn't figure it out until morning. I left at 7:45 the night before. I walked right past her with a bag over my shoulder. And she didn't notice until the next day when I didn't make her coffee. When I wasn't there to let the dog out. When the routine was disrupted. That's what I was to her. Routine. A function. Not a person. I checked out of the motel around 2 and drove north. No destination in mind. Just following the highway like it might lead somewhere that made sense. My phone kept buzzing in the bag. Allison, Tyler, Jim, even Tara, Allison's best friend. The whole network mobilizing to find the missing husband. But nobody asked why I left. They just wanted to know where I was. Around 4 in the afternoon, I pulled into a tiny town called Ridgemont, population maybe 800. Saw a hand-painted sign outside a diner that said cabin rentals, weekly rates. I went inside, talked to the owner, an older woman named Ruth who didn't ask questions. She handed me a key to a place 15 miles up a dirt road, deep in the woods where cell service was spotty at best. Perfect. I paid cash for 2 weeks up front. Drove out there as the sun started setting. The cabin was small, one room with a kitchenette, a wood-burning stove, and windows that looked out over a creek. No TV, no internet, just silence. I sat on the porch that first night, watching the water flow past, and pulled out my phone one last time. 43 missed calls, 27 text messages, 6 voicemails. I turned it off and put it in the truck's glove compartment. For the first time in years, the only sound I heard was the wind in the trees and the creek running over stones. And somewhere in that silence, I started to remember who I used to be before I became Allison's ghost. 3 days into my disappearance, I made the mistake of turning my phone back on. Not to call anyone, just to see what damage control was happening back in Columbus. The screen exploded with notifications. 78 missed calls. 62 text messages. 15 voicemails. I scrolled through the messages first. Allison, where are you? Allison, Holden, please, I'm scared. Allison, I call the hospitals. You're not there. Where are you? Tyler, bro, call me. Allison's a wreck. Jim, man, whatever's going on, just let someone know you're alive. Tara, Holden, this is Tara, Allison's best friend. I don't know what happened between you two, but she needs to know you're okay. Please. And then there were the strange ones. My old college roommate I hadn't talked to in 5 years. The barista from the coffee shop I went to every morning. Even my high school art teacher, Mrs. Pemberton, who somehow still had my number from a decade ago. Allison was casting a wide net. Desperate. Frantic. I listened to one voicemail from Tyler. My brother's voice was tight, controlled. Holden, I don't know what's going through your head right now, but you need to call Allison. She thinks you're dead in a ditch somewhere. She filed a missing persons report. The cops are looking for your truck. Whatever you're doing, whatever point you're trying to make, you made it. Call her. A missing persons report. I sat there on the cabin's porch, watching a deer pick its way through the underbrush, and try to process that. She'd involved the police. Made me into some kind of victim or runaway. The narrative was already being written, and in her version, I was the unstable one. The one who snapped. The one who abandoned his wife without warning. Never mind that I'd been begging for her attention for months. Never mind that I tried talking to her, tried reconnecting, tried everything short of setting myself on fire in the living room just to get her to look at me. I called Tyler back. He picked up on the first ring. Holden, where the hell are you? I'm fine, I said, keeping my voice level. I'm safe. I just needed space. Space. Jesus, Holden. Allison's losing her mind. She thinks you ran off with another woman. She's been calling Lindsay. That stopped me cold. Lindsay? My ex from college. Yeah. Found her on Facebook. Asked if you'd reached out, if you two had been talking. Lindsay told her to get help. I almost laughed. The irony was suffocating. Allison, who'd been emotionally checked out for God knows how long, now thought I was the one having an affair. I'm not with anyone, I said. I just left. Why? Because I was invisible, Tyler. Because she stopped seeing me. Because I was dying in that house, and she didn't even notice. There was a long pause. Look, I get it. Marriage is hard. But you can't just vanish. That's not how you handle things. How should I handle it then? Keep pretending everything's fine? Keep being the guy who doesn't matter? Tyler sighed, and I could hear him struggling with something. She's asking everyone about you. Your friends, your coworkers. She even tracked down that detective we knew from softball league. Asked if he could help find you off the books. She's spiraling, Holden. Good, I thought. Let her spiral. Let her feel what it's like to be ignored, dismissed, erased. But I didn't say that. Instead, I said, tell her I'm safe. Tell her I need time. And tell her to cancel the missing persons report before she wastes any more of the police's time. She wants to talk to you. I'm not ready. When will you be? I looked out at the trees, at the creek running clear and cold over the rocks. I don't know. I hung up before he could argue. I stayed off the grid for another week. Turned the phone off again, shoved in the truck's glove box, and focused on existing in the quiet. Chopped wood. Fixed a loose board on the cabin's porch. Walked the trails around the property until my legs ached. It was simple, physical work that didn't require thought. Didn't require feeling. But isolation has a way of making your thoughts louder. I kept replaying the marriage in my head, trying to pinpoint when it all went wrong. Was it when Allison started working longer hours? Was it when she joined that book club and started spending weekends with Tara instead of me? Was it the night I tried to plan a surprise anniversary dinner, and she canceled last minute because she had a work thing? Or was it earlier? Was it the year her mother died and I wasn't grieving the right way? Was it when I took the promotion at Meridian and started traveling twice a month? Was it my fault for not being present enough? Or her fault for not telling me she was slipping away? I was deep in that spiral when Ruth, the cabin's owner, knocked on my door one afternoon. She was carrying a basket of vegetables from her garden. Thought you might need these, she said, handing them over. You've been up here alone for over a week. Wanted to make sure you're eating. I'm managing, I said. But thank you. She studied me with shrewd eyes. Running from something or running to something. I blinked. Excuse me. Most folks who rent this place, they're doing one or the other. You don't strike me as the vacation type. I set the basket down on the porch railing. Running from, I guess. Wife. That obvious. Ruth smiled. I've been married 47 years. I know that look. The one that says you'd rather be alone in the woods than home where you belong. It's not home anymore, I said quietly. Hasn't been for a long time. She nodded, like she understood more than I was saying. Well, you take your time. Woods are good for thinking, but don't stay too long. Isolation can trick you into believing you don't need anybody. That's a lie, just so you know. She left before I could respond. That night, I turned my phone back on. 112 missed calls now. The voicemails had shifted in tone. Less panic, more desperation. One was from Tara, Allison's best friend, the one who'd always looked at me like I was some necessary inconvenience in her friend's life. Holden, it's Tara. I know we're not close, but I need you to hear this. Allison's not okay. She's barely eating. She called in sick to work 3 days in a row. She sits in your truck in the driveway for hours, just sitting there like you're going to come back. I don't know what happened between you two, but whatever it was, she's falling apart. She won't admit it, but she's terrified she lost you for good. Just call her, or call me. Someone. Please. I deleted it, but the words stuck. She's falling apart. Part of me, the vindictive part one didn't know I had, felt satisfied. Let her fall apart. Let her understand what it felt like. But another part, the part that still remembered loving her, felt something twist in my chest. I turned the phone off again. Not yet. 4 weeks into my self-imposed exile, I decided to check our bank accounts. Not because I needed money. I'd been living off cash I'd withdrawn before leaving, but because I wanted to see if Allison had noticed anything was missing. If she tried to track my movements through credit card statements or ATM withdrawals. What I found was so much worse. I logged into our joint checking account from Ruth's laptop. She'd offered when I mentioned needing to handle some business, and stared at the screen for a full minute, trying to make sense of the numbers. Our account, which had held $47,000 the day I left, was down to $312. $47,000. Gone. My hand started shaking. I clicked through the transaction history, watching the withdrawals stack up. 5,000 here, 10,000 there, 15,000 in a single day. All of it pulled out in the 2 weeks after I disappeared. All of it transferred to an account I didn't recognize. I called the bank immediately. Got routed to a manager named Patricia, who pulled up my account. Mr. Walsh, I see you're calling about the recent transfers from your joint account. Yeah, I need to know where that money went. My wife made those transfers without telling me. I understand your concern, sir, but as it's a joint account, either party has full authorization to move funds. Your wife transferred the money to a personal savings account in her name only. She what? A personal savings account. Opened 3 weeks ago. The funds are no longer accessible to you without her authorization. I felt my chest tighten. Can I reverse the transfers? Unfortunately, no. Once funds are moved to a separate account, they're under the control of that account holder. You would need to speak with your wife or pursue legal options. Legal options. Lawyers. Divorce proceedings. This was escalating faster than I'd anticipated. I hung up and immediately called Tyler. He answered on the second ring. Holden, finally. Listen, Allison's been. Did you know she emptied our bank account? I cut him off. Silence. Then what? $47,000. She moved it all to a personal account I can't access. Did she tell you about that when she was crying about how much she misses me? Holden, I swear I didn't know. She hasn't mentioned anything about money. Well, she did it. The day after I left, she started pulling money out. Like she thought I was going to drain it first. Or maybe she was preparing for a divorce. Either way, I'm broke, Tyler. Everything I saved, everything we built together, she took it. Tyler was quiet for a long moment. That's messed up. But Holden, maybe she panicked. Maybe she thought you were trying to leave her with nothing. I left with a duffel bag in my truck. I didn't touch the account. She did this because she's protecting herself, not because I gave her a reason. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. But I'm not crawling back just to beg for my own money. After I hung up, I sat there staring at Ruth's laptop screen, at the long list of withdrawals. Each one felt like another betrayal. Another piece of evidence that Allison had never trusted me, had never seen me as a partner, just as someone she needed to protect herself from. I closed the laptop and walked outside. The woods were quiet, peaceful, but I couldn't find peace in them anymore. My sanctuary had just been invaded by the reality I tried to escape. That night, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Mr. Walsh. A woman's voice, professional, clipped. Yeah. This is Jennifer Stokes. I'm an attorney. Your wife hired me to help locate you and initiate preliminary divorce proceedings. My stomach dropped. Divorce proceedings. Yes, sir. Mrs. Walsh has expressed concern about the state of your marriage and wants to ensure her financial interests are protected during this period of separation. I'm calling as a courtesy to inform you that papers will be filed within the week unless you're willing to come to the table for mediation. Mediation, I repeated, my voice flat. It's in both parties' best interest to avoid litigation. If you're willing to discuss terms, we can arrange a meeting. I hung up without responding. So that's what this was. Allison wasn't falling apart. She was strategizing. She'd emptied the account, hired a lawyer, and was already building her case. The tears, the voicemails, the desperate calls to my friends and family. It was all theater. A way to make me look like the villain when this went public. I turned my phone off and threw it across the cabin. It hit the wall and clattered to the floor. For the first time since I left, I felt like I'd made a terrible mistake. Not in leaving, but in underestimating her. Tyler showed up at the cabin 2 days later. I didn't ask how he found me. Didn't matter anymore. The walls were closing in, and I was running out of places to hide. He knocked on the door around noon, and when I opened it, he looked exhausted. Dark circles under his eyes, wrinkled shirt, the kind of wear that comes from stress, not just lack of sleep. We need to talk, Tyler said. I stepped aside and let him in. He looked around the cabin, took in the sparse furniture, the wood stove, the view of the creek through the window. This is where you've been hiding. I'm not hiding. I'm existing. Tyler turned to face me. Allison's losing it, Holden. And I mean really losing it. She called me last night at 2 a.m, sobbing so hard I couldn't understand her. Took me 20 minutes to calm her down enough to talk. She hired a divorce lawyer, I said flatly. Emptied our bank account. Doesn't sound like someone who's losing it. Sounds like someone who's planning. Tyler's face shifted, something uncomfortable passing across it. About that. There's something you need to know. I crossed my arms. What? He hesitated, then said, Allison didn't empty that account because she thought you were going to take it. Then why? Because Brendan told her to. The name hit me like a fist to the gut. Brendan. Brendan Foster. Her co-worker. Tyler nodded slowly. Yeah. I felt the room tilt slightly. What does Brendan have to do with our bank account? Tyler looked away, jaw tight. Holden, I didn't want to be the one to tell you this. But you need to know. Allison's been seeing Brendan for about 8 months. 8 months. The number echoed in my head, hollow and devastating. 8 months. While I was trying to save our marriage, trying to get her to notice me, trying to figure out where we went wrong, she'd been with someone else. How long have you known? My voice was calm. Too calm. A month. Maybe 6 weeks. I saw them together at a restaurant in Westerville. They were holding hands. I confronted her about it, and she swore it didn't mean anything. Said it was just emotional support, that you two were having problems. And you believed her. I wanted to. She's your wife, Holden. I didn't want to think she'd do that to you. But she did. Tyler ran a hand through his hair. Brendan's the one who told her to secure the money. Said he might try to leave her with nothing if you found out about the affair. He's been in her ear this whole time, telling her you're unstable, that you abandoned her, that she needs to protect herself. I sat down heavily on the edge of the bed, tried to process it all. The affair, the money, the lawyer. It was all connected. A strategy. A plan to make me the bad guy while she walked away clean. There's more, Tyler said quietly. Of course there is. Brendan's not just some random guy. He's a financial advisor. Works at the same firm where Allison's a project manager. He helped her set up that personal account. Helped her move the money in a way that would be hard for you to challenge legally. So, she's been planning this for a while. Looks like it. I looked up at my brother. Why are you telling me this now? Tyler met my eyes. Because I was wrong. I thought you were overreacting. Thought you were being dramatic by leaving. But after seeing what she's done, how she's playing this, I get it. You weren't running away. You were protecting yourself. I didn't respond. Couldn't. The weight of it all was too much. Tyler sat down beside me. There's something else you should know. Something I should have told you a long time ago. I turned to look at him. He took a deep breath. I've had feelings for Allison since before you two got married. I never acted on them, never said anything, but they were there. And when you left, when she came to me crying, part of me was glad. Because I thought maybe, finally, I'd have a chance. I stared at him, unable to believe what I was hearing. You were in love with my wife. I was. I don't know anymore. But yeah, I was. And I'm telling you now because you deserve to know. You deserve to know that everyone around you has been lying, including me. I stood up, walked to the window, looked out of the trees. Get out. Holden. Get out, Tyler. Now. He left without another word. And I stood there, alone again, wondering if there was anyone left in my life I could trust. I didn't expect to hear from Jim Kowalski. We played softball together for 3 summers, grabbed beers after games, talked about work and life in that surface-level way men do when they're not quite friends but more than acquaintances. He was a private investigator now, ran his own small firm after leaving the Columbus PD. He called me 6 days after Tyler's confession. Holden, it's Jim. Don't hang up. I almost did anyway. How'd you get this number? I'm a PI. It's what I do. Listen, I need to talk to you about Allison. I don't want to hear it. You need to. She hired me 2 weeks ago to find you. Paid me $5,000 up front to track you down and confirm you weren't dead in a ditch somewhere. I leaned back against the cabin wall. And did you find me? 3 days ago. Followed the paper trail from your truck registration, rental payments, cash withdrawals. You're in Ridgemont, renting from Ruth Callahan. But I didn't tell Allison. That surprised me. Why not? Because while I was digging into you, I found some things about her. Things you need to know. My chest tightened. I already know about Brendan. It's not just Brendan. There's more. A lot more. He arranged to meet me at a diner 20 miles from the cabin. Neutral ground. I drove there the next morning, half expecting an ambush, but Jim was alone in a back booth, coffee in front of him, manila folder on the table. I slid into the seat across from him. He pushed the folder toward me. What's this? Bank records, credit card statements, emails I pulled from her cloud storage. Legal? Questionable. But you need to see it. I opened the folder. The first document was a bank statement for the personal account Allison had opened. But there was activity going back 2 years, not 3 weeks. She's had this account for 2 years. Jim nodded. Been funneling money into it the whole time. Small amounts at first. 500 here, 1,000 there. Enough that you probably didn't notice in the joint account. By the time you left, she'd stashed 85 grand. $85,000. Not 47. She'd been hiding money for years. She was planning to leave you, Jim said quietly. Has been for a while. The affair with Brendan was just the final piece. I flipped through the statements, seeing withdrawal after withdrawal, transfer after transfer. She'd been methodical, patient, building her escape fund while I was trying to save our marriage. There's more, Jim said. He pulled out a printed email thread. Found these in her iCloud. Conversations with a lawyer. Not the one who called you. A different one. Started talking to him 8 months ago about divorce strategy. How to protect assets. How to make sure she got the house. I read through the emails, each one a knife to the gut. She'd been planning this. Not in panic after I left, but long before. The lawyer had advised her to document everything, to build a case that I was emotionally distant, financially controlling, anything that would paint her as the victim. Why are you showing me this? I asked. Jim met my eyes. Because you're a good guy, Holden. And she's playing you. She's going to take everything and make you look like the bad guy while she does it. You need to fight back. How? Get your own lawyer. Use this evidence. Show that she's been planning to leave for years, that she hid money, that she's lying about being blindsided. You got a case for fraud, maybe even embezzlement, depending on how the judge sees it. I closed the folder, feeling sick. I just wanted to leave. I didn't want a war. Too late. She started the war a long time ago. You just didn't know you were fighting. I took the folder with me when I left. Drove back to the cabin in a daze. Jim had also included photos. Brendan and Allison at restaurants, at hotels, in his car. Timestamps showed it had been going on for at least 10 months, not 8 like Tyler said. That night, I made a decision. I called a lawyer. Top-rated divorce attorney in Columbus. Woman named Karen Briggs who had a reputation for being ruthless. I sent her everything Jim had given me. Her response came 2 hours later. We need to meet. You've got a strong case, but we need to move fast. I wasn't going to roll over. Not anymore. Karen Briggs met me at her office in downtown Columbus 3 days later. I'd driven back to the city for the first time since I left, and it felt strange. Foreign. Like I was visiting a place I used to know, but didn't recognize anymore. Karen was in her 50s, sharp-eyed, with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. She didn't waste time on pleasantries. Mr. Walsh, what your wife has done is financial abuse. The hidden account, the systematic transfers, the premeditation. We can use this. I don't want to destroy her, I said. I just want what's fair. Fair. Karen raised an eyebrow. She's been stealing from you for 2 years. She's planning to take your house, your savings, everything you've built. Fair went out the window a long time ago. She laid out a strategy. File first, before Allison's lawyer could. Use the evidence to freeze her personal account. Demand a full audit of all finances. Expose the affair in court to show her character. This will get ugly, Karen warned. She'll fight back. She'll try to paint you as unstable, absent, controlling. Are you prepared for that? I thought about it. Thought about Allison's tears, her voicemails, her performance of devastation. Thought about Tyler's confession. About Brendan whispering in her ear. About the 2 years of lies. Yeah, I said. I'm prepared. We filed the next day. Petition for divorce. Motion to freeze assets. Request for full financial disclosure. Karen had the papers served to Allison at her work, in front of her colleagues. Strategic, she said. Put her on the defensive. The blowback was immediate. Allison called me 17 times in 2 hours. I didn't answer. Then Tara called. Holden, what the hell did you just do? Allison's in shambles. They served her at work. Everyone saw. She's humiliated. Good, I said, and I meant it. Good? Jesus, Holden, what happened to you? I woke up. That's what happened. Tyler called next. Bro, you filed for divorce? Why didn't you tell me? Because you're in love with my wife, Tyler. Why would I tell you anything? He tried to stammer a response, but I hung up. Then my phone rang again. This time, it was Allison. I stared at the screen for a long moment, then answered. Holden, please, we need to talk. Her voice was raw, desperate. Talk to my lawyer. Don't do this. Don't throw away 14 years because you're angry. I'm not throwing it away. You already did. 2 years ago when you started hiding money. 10 months ago when you started sleeping with Brendan. You threw us away. Allison, I'm just making it official. That's not fair. You left me. You abandoned. I left because you made me invisible. Because you stopped caring if I existed. And instead of fighting for me, you took everything I worked for and tried to make me the villain. Well, guess what? I have evidence. Bank records. Emails. Photos. Your whole strategy is about to fall apart. There was silence on the other end. Then, quietly, you hired a detective. I didn't have to. One found me. Show me everything you've been planning. The hidden account. The lawyer consultations. All of it. Her voice shifted, hardened. You think you're going to win this? You think a judge is going to side with you? I think a judge is going to see you for what you are. A liar. A cheater. And someone who's been committing financial fraud for years. I'll destroy you, Holden. You already tried. Didn't work. I hung up and blocked her number. That night, Karen called with an update. Judge granted the motion to freeze her personal account. She can't touch that $85,000 until the case is settled. Also, Allison's lawyer filed a counter motion claiming you're trying to financially abuse her. It's weak, but they're grasping. What's next? Discovery. We dig into everything. Her finances, her communications, her affair. And we prepare for her to throw everything she's got at you. She's going to try to break you, Holden. Let her try. But as I sat in that cabin that night, staring at the divorce papers, I felt something crack inside me. Not regret, not guilt, just the final, complete death of the love I'd once had for the woman I married. And in its place, something colder, something harder. Resolve. The divorce proceedings dragged on for 3 months. Depositions, hearings, financial audits. Allison fought every step, her lawyer painting me as controlling, absent, emotionally abusive. But every time they made a claim, Karen countered with evidence. Bank records, emails, photos of Allison and Brendan. The turning point came from someone I never expected. I was at the cabin, taking a break from the legal warfare, when a car pulled up the dirt road. Not Ruth's truck, not Tyler's. A silver SUV I didn't recognize. Lindsay Harper stepped out. My first girlfriend. The woman I'd loved before Allison. The one Allison had called in her panic, trying to find me. Holden, Lindsay said, walking toward the porch. I hope this isn't weird. I got your location from Jim Kowalski. He said you might need support. Lindsay, what are you doing here? She climbed the steps, looking at me with those same green eyes I remembered from college. I came to tell you something. Something I should have told you a long time ago. We sat on the porch, and she told me a story I'd never heard. When you and Allison got engaged, I ran into her at a coffee shop in Columbus. This was maybe a month before your wedding. She was with some guy, laughing, holding hands. I didn't think much of it at first. People have friends. But then I saw them kiss. Really kiss. And I froze. My stomach tightened. Who was it? I don't know. Some guy in a suit. But Holden, she saw me. Made eye contact. And she came over to me and said, if you tell him, I'll make sure he never speaks to you again. He loves me. Not you. Stay out of it. I stared at her. You knew she was cheating before we even got married. I'm sorry. I was young, scared. And honestly, I thought maybe it was a one-time mistake. But after she called me a few months ago, asking about you, I started digging. Found out she's been doing this for years. Different guys. Always someone at work. Brendan's just the latest. She pulled out her phone, showed me screenshots, social media posts, tag locations, timestamps. Allison with different men over the years. Not all of them physical affairs. Maybe, but emotional ones at minimum. Why are you showing me this now? Lindsay met my eyes. Because you deserve to know the truth. And because when she called me, she tried to make you sound like the villain. Said you were unstable, that you'd abandoned her, that she was scared. But I know you, Holden. You're not that person. She is. I took screenshots of everything. Sent them to Karen immediately. There's something else, Lindsay said quietly. I heard from mutual friends that Allison's niece, Sophie, has been asking about you. She's devastated. Thinks you abandoned her. Sophie, Allison's sister's daughter. The 12-year-old who used to call me Uncle Holden, who I taught to ride a bike, who came to our house every weekend. I didn't abandon her, I said. I know. But Allison's telling everyone you did. She's using Sophie as part of her narrative, making you look heartless. That hit harder than anything else. I'd always cared about Sophie, probably more than Allison did. I need to fix that, I said. Lindsay nodded. I thought you might. That's why I'm here. To remind you that not everyone believes her story. Some of us know who you really are. After she left, I sat on the porch for hours, thinking about Sophie. About the damage Allison was doing beyond just our marriage. About the lies spreading through our community. I called Karen. I want to go on record. I want to tell my side publicly. Holden, that's risky. Anything you say can be used against you. I don't care. I'm tired of being the villain in her story. 2 days later, I sat down with a journalist from the Columbus Dispatch. Told him everything. The emotional neglect. The affair. The hidden money. The years of deception. He fact-checked it all, verified it with court documents, published it. The article went viral locally. Suddenly, people were reaching out. Co-workers. Friends. People who'd believed Allison's version and now saw the truth. And Sophie's mother called me. Holden, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Sophie wants to talk to you. Would that be okay? Of course. The divorce was finalized 8 months after I left. The judge ruled in my favor on almost every point. I got half the house's value, reimbursement for the hidden funds, and a formal finding that Allison had committed financial fraud. She got to keep the house itself, but had to buy me out. Brendan, it turned out, had distanced himself once the affair became public. Left her to face the consequences alone. I moved back to Columbus, but not to our old neighborhood. Found a small house near the university, something that felt new, clean, mine. Sophie came to visit once the divorce was final. Her mother dropped her off, and the kid threw her arms around me like I'd been gone for years. I missed you, Uncle Holden, she said. I missed you too, kiddo. We spent the afternoon together. I taught her how to sketch using charcoal, something I hadn't done since college. She told me about school, about her friends, about how confused she'd been when I disappeared. Aunt Allison said you didn't care about us anymore, Sophie said quietly. That's not true. I cared. I still do. I just couldn't stay in a place that was hurting me. She nodded, like she understood more than a 12-year-old should have to. Before she left, she said, Are you happy now? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I'm getting there. Lindsay and I started talking regularly. Not romantically, not at first. Just as friends. People who understood each other's pasts. But over time, something shifted. Coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into long walks. And one night, sitting on my new porch, she said, I never stopped caring about you, you know. I know, I said. I never stopped either. We took it slow. No rush. No pressure. Just two people who'd found their way back to each other after years of living separate lives. 11 months after I left Allison, I got a call from Tyler. We hadn't spoken since I kicked him out of the cabin. Holden, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I need to say something. Go ahead. I was wrong. About Allison. About everything. I let my feelings cloud my judgment, and I betrayed you. I'm sorry. I didn't forgive him immediately. Trust isn't rebuilt that easily. But I said, I appreciate you saying that. Are you happy? He asked. Yeah, I said, looking at Lindsay sleeping on my couch, at Sophie's drawing pinned to my refrigerator, at the life I was slowly rebuilding. I think I am. Work at Meridian welcomed me back. They'd held my position, understanding I'd been going through a personal crisis. I threw myself into a new project, designing electrical systems for a sustainable housing development. It felt good to create something again. 1 year after I walked out of that house in silence, I stood on my new porch watching the sun set. My phone buzzed. A text from Allison. I'm sorry for everything. I know it doesn't matter now, but I needed you to know. I read it twice, then deleted it. Some apologies come too late. Some damage can't be undone. And some people don't deserve a place in your new life, no matter how sorry they claim to be. I was 44 years old. I had a career I loved, people who cared about me, and a future that felt possible again. I'd walked away without saying goodbye, and she'd crumbled under the weight of her own lies. But I'd risen from the ashes of that marriage stronger, clearer, and finally free.